He lasted 11 days in office.
Reportedly escorted off White House property.
Anthony Scaramucci.
I became overly ambitious, and I ended up doing things I totally regret.
For the first time, he reveals why his wife almost left him.
Did he come home and say, guess what, I'm going to start working in the White House?
No, we actually never really talked about it.
Anthony Scaramucci, known for his high-energy personality and whirlwind 11-day tenure as Donald Trump's White House communications director, has always been a man on the move. But behind the public persona of sharp suits, quick wit, and ambition that doesn't quit lies a deeply personal story of love nearly lost and hard-earned redemption. Recently, Scaramucci opened up about how his relentless drive for success nearly cost him his marriage, and how an unexpected ally, Donald Trump himself, helped him save it. It all started when Anthony's career began to skyrocket. As the founder of Skybridge Capital, he had already carved out a significant name for himself in the financial world. But Scaramucci wasn't content to stay in one lane. Politics called to him, and he answered with gusto, joining the Trump administration in 2017 in one of the most dramatic periods of his career. Anthony was in the limelight, mixing with the political elite, giving interviews, and, let's be honest, making headlines for all the wrong reasons. His ambition burned brighter than ever, but while he was busy chasing the next big thing, his personal life began to fall apart.
My marriage was hunky-dory when I was working for the candidate. But when it transitioned over to the candidate becoming president and there was an opportunity for me to work in the White House, I became overly ambitious on that at the great detriment to my marriage. And so I was neglectful, fighting with my wife. My children felt neglected. So eventually, my wife and I got to the verge of a divorce and complete separation.
Deidre Ball, Scaramucci's wife, had been with him through thick and thin. But as Anthony became increasingly consumed with his political aspirations, their relationship started to strain under the weight of his absence, both physical and emotional. Deidre felt sidelined, as if she was an afterthought in the whirlwind of Anthony's career. It wasn't just about the long hours or the public attention. It was the sense that the man she married had been swallowed up by his ambitions. The breaking point came when Deidre filed for divorce in 2017, while Anthony was neck-deep in his chaotic stint at the White House. To outsiders, it seemed like just another scandal to pile onto his already tumultuous time in Washington, but for Anthony, it was a wake-up call that shook him to his core. He had always believed that he could juggle it all: his career, his family, his dreams. But suddenly, he was faced with the harsh reality that he was losing the one thing that mattered most: his marriage. Anthony admits now that he was blind to what his ambition was doing to his family. He had convinced himself that he was building a better life for them. But in reality, he was pushing them away. His wife, pregnant with their second child at the time, felt abandoned during one of the most vulnerable moments of her life.
The next thing we knew, Donald Trump was the president.
Yeah.
And Anthony was, signed up to be with him. So it was never really a conversation. It was definitely a weird dynamic. I knew that he always had political ambitions, but this kind of happened, and we never really discussed it before.
Anthony, in his own words, was completely missing the point. Enter Donald Trump. Yes, you read that right. The same Donald Trump who had hired Anthony, fired him, and probably said a few choice words about him behind closed doors. In a moment of unexpected camaraderie, Trump pulled Anthony aside and gave him a piece of advice that would change everything. "Don't let this job destroy your family," Trump reportedly told him. It was simple, direct, and exactly what Anthony needed to hear. At first, it seemed ironic. Trump giving marriage advice? But for Anthony, it hit home. It was the nudge he needed to step back, take a hard look at his life, and realize that his priorities were completely out of whack. With Trump's words echoing in his mind, Anthony made a decision. He wasn't going to let his marriage fall apart without a fight. The road back wasn't easy. Deidre had been hurt, and rebuilding trust wasn't going to happen overnight. Anthony had to make significant changes, starting with stepping away from the relentless pace of his political ambitions. He began showing up, not just physically, but emotionally. He listened more, apologized often, and made a conscious effort to prioritize his family over his career. Counseling helped, as did time and a lot of heartfelt conversations. Slowly but surely, they began to rebuild the foundation of their relationship. Looking back, Anthony describes the experience as one of the most humbling and transformative periods of his life. He learned the hard way that success isn't just about climbing the ladder or making headlines. It's about being present for the people you love. Today, Anthony and Deidre are stronger than ever, proof that even in the face of near collapse, relationships can be salvaged with effort, humility, and a willingness to change. Anthony's story is a reminder to all of us that ambition can be a double-edged sword. It can drive us to achieve incredible things, but if left unchecked, it can also blind us to what really matters. For Anthony, it took hitting rock bottom and a little nudge from Donald Trump to find his way back to the people who mattered most. And while his career may still be full of twists and turns, one thing is certain: Anthony Scaramucci has learned to never let ambition overshadow his love for his family.